Most people think they're stuck financially because they lack talent, luck, or opportunity. In reality, what holds them back has far more to do with how they think. Many follow mental habits that quietly undermine long-term wealth, and because those habits feel normal, they go unchallenged. After observing both extremes, a clear pattern emerges. Wealthy individuals aren't smarter or luckier, they think differently. They process stress, make decisions, manage time, and design their environment in ways that compound results. These principles work regardless of where you start, because over time, thinking differently changes everything. Stress shrinks when time expands. When most people face setbacks, their nervous system goes into emergency mode. A deal collapses, an employee quits, a plan falls apart. Emotions spike immediately. The wealthy respond differently, not because they don't care, but because they zoom out. They ask one powerful question: will this matter 5 years from now? That single pause changes everything. Most situations that feel catastrophic in the moment completely disappear with time. Recognizing this doesn't make problems vanish, but it stops you from wasting emotional energy on issues that won't compound. Long-term thinkers don't ignore problems. They triage them. If something won't matter in 5 years, they handle it calmly and efficiently. If it will matter, they give it focused, strategic attention. This distinction prevents burnout and keeps attention fixed on what actually builds momentum. People who live in urgency mistake noise for importance. The wealthy understand that clarity, not speed, creates leverage. Patterns matter more than effort. Hard work feels productive, but effort alone doesn't scale. One of the biggest mental shifts among high performers is moving from problem-solving to pattern recognition. When the same issue appears repeatedly, whether it's staffing problems, cash flow stress, or operational bottlenecks, it's no longer a coincidence. It's a system failure. Most people exhaust themselves solving the same problem over and over, each time treating it as a unique crisis. The top 1% step back and ask, why does this keep happening? Then they design systems that eliminate the issue permanently. This is why many businesses stall at the same revenue thresholds. The constraint isn't effort, it's structure. Wealth grows when you build solutions once and let them run forever. Busy work creates exhaustion. Systems create freedom. If you've solved the same type of problem multiple times recently, that's your signal to stop reacting and start designing. One level up thinking. Another defining habit of the wealthy is their ability to think above their current role. Instead of responding emotionally, they mentally step into the position of someone more senior, more strategic, or more detached. They ask questions like, if I were on the board, how would I see this? What decision creates the strongest structure, not the fastest relief? This mindset prevents leaders from constantly jumping into the weeds. When you solve every problem personally, you train your system to depend on you, and that limits growth. True leverage comes from designing frameworks that allow others to succeed without constant intervention. This shift, from operator to architect, is where personal effort gets replaced by organizational momentum. Thinking one level up forces objectivity. It replaces reaction with structure and transforms decision-making quality almost instantly. Emotionless decisions create freedom. One of the hardest, but most powerful, skills to develop is separating feelings from facts. The wealthy don't eliminate emotion, they simply refuse to let it drive decisions. When something isn't working, whether it's a hire, a partnership, or a strategy, they look at the numbers. Trends don't lie. If results decline after a change, the decision becomes mathematical, not personal. Most people delay tough decisions because they fear discomfort. High performers understand that prolonged hesitation creates far more damage than decisive action. They treat emotions as background noise, acknowledged but not obeyed. Clear data shortens decision cycles, reduces regret, and restores mental peace. When choices are made from evidence instead of emotion, execution accelerates and stress declines. Time is capital. Spend it like an investor. Money can be replenished. Time cannot. That's why the top 1% protect their time more aggressively than their bank accounts. They don't see hours as something to fill. They see hours as an asset to allocate. The average person treats time like water. Let it spill everywhere and hope enough remains. Wealthy people treat time like scarce capital. Every hour must produce a return. They also don't confuse being busy with being effective. Busy is easy. Effective requires discipline. A calendar full of meetings can make you feel important, but it can quietly destroy your ability to think, plan, and build. Wealthy people know context switching is a silent productivity killer. 10 small interruptions can cost more than 10 hours of focused work because they fragment attention and drain mental energy. That's why they learn to say no, often and without guilt. They decline quick calls that aren't actually quick. They shorten meetings. They delegate tasks that don't require their unique skill. They remove low-impact commitments that offer social comfort but no long-term payoff. This isn't selfishness, it's strategy. Because if you give your best hours away, you're left building your future with exhausted leftovers. Wealthy individuals audit their schedules the same way investors review portfolios. They look at each commitment and ask, what is the return on this hour? If it doesn't create leverage, learning, momentum, or relationship value, it gets cut, delegated, or redesigned. They keep high-yield activities and eliminate low-yield noise. Average people trade time for money. The elite allocate time like investors, placing hours into skills, strategy, and high-value relationships where returns compound over years. Your calendar isn't neutral. It is your future in spreadsheet form. What you repeat weekly becomes what you become eventually. Your environment writes your operating system. Perhaps the most underestimated principle of all is this: your environment shapes your thinking more than your intentions ever will. People love the idea of willpower, but willpower is unreliable. It fades when you're tired, stressed, hungry, or overwhelmed. Environment doesn't fade. It influences you quietly every day, even when you're not paying attention. Many people believe they can outgrow their surroundings through sheer ambition. But cluttered spaces, draining relationships, bad health habits, and unfinished tasks create constant psychological friction. They steal attention. They increase stress. They lower standards without you realizing it. When your environment is chaotic, your mind spends energy managing chaos instead of building progress. The wealthy curate aggressively. They simplify. They organize. They design their surroundings to support clarity and discipline. They pay attention to the food they eat because energy affects decision-making. They pay attention to movement because a sluggish body creates a sluggish mind. They pay attention to their social circle because constant exposure to negativity, excuses, and complaining rewires your expectations. And most importantly, they choose environments that stretch them. If your environment rewards comfort, you'll defend comfort. If your environment normalizes mediocrity, you'll start explaining why mediocrity is fine. But if your environment raises the standard, people who think bigger, execute faster, and take responsibility, you adapt upward. That discomfort is growth. This applies to people most of all. The individuals you spend time with influence your mood, confidence, stress level, and ambition more than any motivational video ever will. Change the environment, and your thinking follows because your brain is constantly mirroring what it sees around it. Your thinking will rarely outpace your environment for long, so curate it like your future depends on it, because it does. Thinking differently is the real wealth multiplier. None of these principles rely on luck, background, or privilege. They rely on awareness and repetition. Over time, they compound into clarity, leverage, and control. The difference between the top 1% and everyone else isn't access, it's perspective. They filter stress through time, replace effort with systems, remove emotion from decisions, invest time deliberately, and design environments that sharpen their thinking. Adopt these 6 principles, and you won't just act differently, you'll see differently. And once your thinking changes, wealth stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling inevitable. If these ideas change the way you think about money, time, and decisions, imagine what happens when you apply them consistently. Wealth isn't built by luck, it's built by thinking differently, every single day. If you want to be smarter every day, like and subscribe.